Hello, everyone.
Hello, welcome.
Hello.
Boa tarde, eu sou a Diana Souza. Sejam bem-vindos ao terceiro evento da Road to EuroSteamCon Portugal.
Good afternoon, I'm Claudia Silva, and welcome to the third step on the road to EuroSteamCon Portugal.
Para os que não conhecem, a EuroSteamCon é uma convenção europeia de steampunk que este ano irá voltar a Portugal a 3 e 4 de outubro. Se quiserem mais informações, consultem o nosso site, cuja morada podem ver debaixo dos nossos nomes. E hoje temos algo muito especial a anunciar. Como devem ter notado, andamos a deixar pistas no nosso Facebook e no final deste hangout vamos finalmente revelar o local onde a convenção se irá realizar.
And for those of you who are tuning in for the first time, EuroSteamCon is a European convention celebrating steampunk all over Europe. This year, it will be making a comeback to Portugal, and on the 3rd and 4th of October, we'll be having it again. For more information, please check our site. The address is right here under our names, or contact us by email, Facebook, Pigeon, whatever you feel like it. Speaking of which, we do have a special announcement to make. We'll have been dropping hints and clues in our Facebook page about the location of the convention. So at the end of today's hangout, we will finally reveal the venue. Stay tuned and find out.
Como sempre, podem submeter as vossas perguntas através da página do YouTube, onde está a assistir, ou no chat à beira do hangout, ou mesmo na página do evento no Facebook. O nosso convidado cedeu gentilmente a responder a quantas puder no final da nossa entrevista. O vídeo deste hangout estará disponível na nossa página do YouTube assim que acabarmos, na versão original e com legendas em português assim que possível. E lembramos que, depois desta breve introdução, iremos passar a falar exclusivamente em inglês.
As always, feel free to submit any questions, queries or conundrums that you may have via the YouTube channel or the event page on Facebook. Our guest kindly agreed to answer as many questions as he could, and will be asking the viewers questions at the end of the interview. This video will be available on YouTube page as soon as the hangout is over, in its original version. If you wait for a bit, we will have the Portuguese subtitles as soon as we can. After this small introduction, and for the sake of our guest's peace of mind, we will be shifting exclusively to English and conducting the entire interview in it.
Pela primeira vez, vamos nos afastar da escrita e viramos para a música. Hoje temos connosco o professor Elemental, um artista steampunk que mistura hip-hop, comédia e muito chá.
And in a premiere of sorts, we're stepping away from the written word to focus on the sung word. Here with us today is Professor Elemental, an artist, a musician, a gentleman scientist, and, many believe, a time traveller with an impressive array of trousers. Known for his razor-sharp wit and sense of rhythm, he is a steampunk artist who mixes hip-hop, comedy, and an abated love of tea. Welcome, Professor, and thank you so much for being here with us.
Oh my goodness, that's possibly the nicest introduction I've ever had for anything. Will you come on tour and just introduce me on stage every night? That'd be great. Yeah, thanks for having me. I'm delighted to be here.
We would be delighted to join you.
Yeah, you're totally welcome. Say goodbye to Jeffrey, and you two are coming with me. That'd be great.
Yeah, and we want you too. Just give us some tea and we'll be happy.
True.
Yeah, the cooking good. There's one thing that I can pay you in. It's tea. All is good.
All right, let's start with the questions then. How were you introduced to steampunk?
I just completely by accident. I did a Cup of Brown Joy as a little music video, and just had loads of Americans getting in touch on MySpace. It was in those days, and they were getting in touch, going, "Hey man, you're so steampunk. I love steam. But you want to come and do a steampunk show?" And I was like, "Whatever that is, if I can come to America, I'll definitely. I love it. Yes." And so I got kindly invited to a couple of American steampunk conventions, and it was like discovering a lost tribe that you didn't know you were part of. Just all of the nicest, nerdiest, most inventive people that I could possibly have imagined. So yeah, once I went to a single event, I was completely hooked. I'm sure a lot of steampunks feel the same actually as well. As soon as you go to one event, you're like, oh, okay, I see what this is. This is great.
True.
So it's actually, you have never heard of steampunk before. It was just, oh, hello, what's this? And you then went native.
Yeah, exactly that. I was doing, if people go on YouTube and type in "come into my parlour," they can see what I used to do with the professor before I was kind of making him into a proper sort of rap act. I used to be part of a variety show. There was a Victorian flavoured theme, but it had nothing to do with steampunk. And yeah, we just did that one music video, and everything blew up from there. So I really owe my entire career to a chap called Moog, who directed the music video, because without him, I would have got anywhere.
Okay, well, that is actually really interesting, because usually most people start with the whole I'm into steampunk, and then it becomes something more like they start writing about it or singing about it. So you actually went the other way around, and that actually makes me very.
I think yeah.
Yeah, please.
Sorry, no, I found that's the case with a lot of bands, actually. A lot of the steampunk bands were kind of just doing their thing and get adopted by steampunks as a sort of subculture and go, oh, okay, then we'll do that. And it just so happens that a lot of the subject matter or even the kind of people that they are, whether they're kind of quite a nerdy sort of acts or just quite, engaging and nice, they tend to draw the steampunks in. It's lovely.
That's true.
So you began with the hip-hop background, and suddenly you became chap hop. So can you tell us a little more about how that evolution happened, and also your connection to comedy? Because now I'm really curious.
Yeah, well, it is a bit of a jump. I used to be a kind of more of a mainstream hip hop MC, or at least I tried to be. But I'm a puny, comic reading, cartoon loving geek. So when I would be standing on stage doing like hardcore battle raps and spitting violent raps about your mum and stuff, all of my friends thought it was ridiculous. They're like, why are you pretending to be hard? So I loved hip hop, but I never really found my voice in it. And then the professor was a handy foil to kind of use him as an alias, really. And on top of that, of all the things that I'm nerdy about, I'm also quite nerdy about doing about stand-up comedy. So something where I could combine good hip-hop music and stand-up comedy and use a character to kind of explore all of that is just perfect for me. So yeah, everything I got kind of in the right place at the right time. I've got very lucky, I think.
Yep.
We want to look. I think. Oh yeah. This is my main look. What do I have here?
Ah yes, I like it.
Right.
All right. Let's see. So, you traveled a lot to go to steampunk conventions, like you said, and you do workshops, shows. What are some of the things you do at these kinds of events, and how many countries have you visited over the years?
Ooh, that's a good question. I've done shows in Sweden and France and Belgium, I think. Vienna was nice. Canada, where they all look like they're really polite and nice and mellow, but they're not. They're wild. They're wild boozeaholics. Crazy party people secretly in Canada. Loads of American ones, which was really nice. And as we are all different in our different cultures and we have certain characteristics, I love seeing how that impacts on steampunk as well. In that European steampunks are generally a bit cooler than other steampunks. English steampunks drink more. We're boozier, and Americans are often they kind of put more effort in, I think, and they're wicked hosts as well. Americans are amazing hosts. So yeah, the traveling part is probably one of my favourite bits of the whole thing. I feel very lucky to get to travel around the world, seeing all these wonderful people. I still need to do Australia though. I haven't sussed out the Australians yet. That's my next port of call. And
you have to do Portugal too.
Oh, absolutely.
Oh yeah, yeah. Well, I would. Yeah, if you'll have me, I want to come to Portugal. I really want to come to your convention. So yeah, maybe we could do like a Kickstarter or something.
That would be nice. That would be nice.
Now I'm actually.
Oh, you vanished. You're making weird noises.
Sorry. I'm actually curious because which are the differences now you found between the steampunkers in different countries? Because now I actually would kind of like to know, because usually there's this union. We're all like the same thing. We're all into the same style.
Oh, I can't quite hear you. The connection's got a bit funny. Can you say that again?
Okay, sorry. Can you hear me now?
You might even have to type it.
No. Can you hear me now? Are you hearing me?
I think I understood her question. I can make it. Claudia was curious about if the different communities from the different countries are different. If they
like a weird broken robot's trying to interview me. I quite like it. That's my kind of place, really.
Maybe I am.
You're back. Hi again.
Hi.
You're very convincing. Congratulations.
Damn it, my mask, my human mask faltered there for a bit. She was asking if the different communities from the different countries are, if they like the same thing, if you noticed any kind of difference besides the English people drink more. If it's all the same, if it's different, if you notice any kind of funny differences between them.
Yeah, I suppose I have done really, but we all fulfil our cultural cliches. Like, English people don't travel very well, and we drink a lot of whatever it might be. We kind of tend to fulfill those things. Americans do tend to be, on the whole, a bit more big and brash, but also like really warm and lovely hosts, whereas you wouldn't necessarily get that same level of like, come on over to my house. You wouldn't get that kind of stuff in the UK so much. I'd be very curious to know what it's like in Portugal. I kind of want to know. But the main thing that I do find is that for those little differences are all on the surface, because at our heart, all steampunks, we're kind of all nerds, aren't we? We all tend to like, whether it's gaming or comics or horror or whatever the kind of nerdy thing we're into, we all tend to be nerds, and that means we're generally all nice people. Out of all of the steampunks I've ever met, I've only met 2 that were idiots, and that's not bad out of like thousands of steampunks.
I had to guess in Portugal, we tried to feed you until you exploded, because we do tend to give when we like someone, we try to feed them every nice thing we can find, so you might end up exploding.
Oh my God! Please, can I come over? That sounds great.
This is also.
Is there a big steampunk scene? Sorry, God.
That's how your granny shows she loves you. She says, "Oh my God, you're not eating enough," and then they try to feed you until you explode. So yeah.
Yeah, that's the typical Portuguese mother.
That sounds great, man. Lovely. Is there a big thriving steampunk scene in Portugal? Is it a big thing?
It's a big one, but it's growing steadily. Because a couple of years ago, nobody knew what steampunk was, and now there are several communities, and we're all working together, and we have EuroSteamCon. So actually, we're in a good place to go. Yeah, we have to keep working. And now a very vague attempt to stab towards respectability and that we are actually conducting a proper interview. I'd to go for an important and meaningful question. Yes, that. Well, reading.
I like that. That's one of the things you're very. All these questions have been good. I think it's going very well. That is the thing with steampunk though, like combining all of the little mini communities and getting them to team up. You can if you were in trouble, if you were having a difficult time, or your event was struggling, you can call on other steampunks to help you out. Like there's a group in Leeds actually in England, a steampunk group, and one of their members has had terrible kind of medical problems. He's been in hospital with all sorts of things, and they've just drawn everybody in to kind of help out as a proper community. People have gone to visit him and sent him stuff, and I sent him some albums and things, and that's lovely. That's the thing I like most about steampunk is that beautiful sense of like a family, a group of friends. It's nice.
Right. But, okay, so I'm now going to pretend I'm actually a responsible and respectable person, and I'm not geeking out at all, by making the question that, okay, so this is actually related
Your connection has gone again, I'm afraid.
Oh dear, not again. I was actually wondering...
Yeah. You're back.
Okay. I've read that you're against traditional concepts of copyright, and you believe that people should actually have free access to entertainment content. This is actually a really unusual stance for an artist, especially someone who dabbles in music. Well, handles music, not dabbles.
Yeah.
Can you kind of tell us where your position came from? Because it is really, really unusual.
Yeah, good research, guys. That's a good question. I'm kind of all right with the kind of going around and it's changed actually. My stance has changed slightly because what I liked it when the music industry collapsed in on itself and everyone could just steal all the music they wanted to, and performers were going out and doing their shows live and getting money like that. I like that because it just makes it a bit of a free-for-all and it stops the industry side of the music industry, because I had very little time for that. Sadly, however, the industry has struck back recently, and it's an interesting time to be an independent musician, because now increasingly everybody is listening to music via streaming, and all of the streaming companies are owned by these huge, great companies. That's not quite the same as far as I'm concerned. I didn't mind you taking it from me, but what I don't like is another company making a huge amount of money and me making none of it off that same piece of music. So it's an interesting time. It's interesting how the industry sort of struck back all the little independent musicians and the big musicians and clawed their money back.
Related to that, have you seen Amanda Palmer's TED Talk?
What, the one about asking for stuff?
Yes. Because
I liked it.
she did something similar. She's an independent musician, and she released their album for free, and if people wanted, they would donate. If they didn't want, they could still have it for free. And it's really nice, I think.
Yeah, that is
I like it. It's a much better way to work, man.
I agree.
Like, pay if you like. It's a sort of honest system. It's actually
and I also, it's the same with like my next album. I'm doing a big Indiegogo campaign, like a Kickstarter type thing, and really, you know, I struggled with the idea of asking for people for money. But as an American actor sort of said to me when I was over there recently, they were like, what people are really doing is they're just pre-ordering the album for you. They're kind of just paying for it in advance to enable you to make it. And I think that's a really healthy way to be. Like someone like me would never have got a record deal. No one's going to put me on the TV. The only reason I survive is by, you know, people sharing my videos around and asking me to do shows in different places and buying the sort of comics and weird and wonderful merchandise. And so that's the world I really like. I do have a problem with the music streaming industry. I think that, if anything, really devalues music. It makes me sad, and I don't really know what the solution to it is. I wonder if it's going to impact the amount of people who are going to make money out of music. I don't know.
The thing is, if you really want, oh, by the way, you must really tell us when your Indiegogo campaign starts so we can actually advertise it. We'd love to do it. But the thing I found...
absolutely. As soon as it's up, I will.
Awesome. The thing I found out, some people actually, I've seen some of these campaigns, and what they do is they will release free all the
Oh, you've vanished again. I'm sorry.
Oh dear.
Yes.
Did I show up again?
Is she back? Can you see her?
Hello, where are you?
I can ask the next question while she comes back.
Diana's back. Okay, someone's coming back. Hi.
That's why there's two of us.
Yeah,
thank God. Yeah, the tag teaming thing works. It works.
No, as I was asking, I've seen several of these campaigns, and what they often do is they will give the content for free. I'm actually thinking of, I think it was a role-playing game. The document is for free, but if you participate in the campaign, you get either extras, you get to participate with as much money as you want, or you get like interesting things like being called by name or making one of your friends or even your own name participate. So you might want to go there if you actually are not so much into, oh, I'm afraid to, well, I'm not entirely comfortable asking people for money. So you can just give the content, but then the extras people pay, or they just pay willingly.
Absolutely. Well, like the last campaign I did was for a music video, and people could come and be in the video, or I wrote some people special songs. And another way you can do it is you can just throw all the spare money at charity. That's how we did it in the end. We're like, once we've got enough money to make the video, any extra money we're just going to give to a load of youth charities, and that works really well as well.
Nice.
Yeah, that's true. Wasn't that how the Chronicles of Professor Elemental started, with a Kickstarter campaign?
That's true, actually. That was our first Kickstarter. A lovely man called Benjamin Field did all the hard work on the Kickstarter to make that happen, and he wrote and directed it all. Actually, yeah, he was great. Yeah, that was my first introduction to it, and my first introduction to doing something with the professor, sort of outside of the world of music as well, and that's expanded now into games and comics and video games and all sorts. It's nice.
It's cool.
And since we're shifting towards other mediums, you have both as well the Professor Elemental comics and Stuff and Nonsense, which is a card game by Cheap Ass Games. So this is going to end up being a double question. First, can you tell us a little bit about these projects and if you're planning on trying your hand on other mediums? And secondly, since you are the villain on Stuff and Nonsense in the game, do you believe that cheap-ass games were actually secretly bribed by your erstwhile nemesis, the Gentleman Rhymer?
Yeah, good point, actually. Good point. Why am I the villain? I shouldn't be the villain. I should be the ineffectual hero. God damn it. Yeah, I love putting the professor in lots of different places, and for me, it's often an excuse for just to try something out. Like I'm writing a book of. We wrote a novel last year with a couple of friends of mine, purely via letter, and that spurred me on to write a series of like Professor Elemental-based horror stories. And really, it's just an excuse for me to write some comedic horror stories. But I've already got this world that I can base it all in. It's lovely. So yeah, any partnerships are the things that I love. Just excuses to work with people. I started working with a company to make a little Professor Elemental mobile video game. And it's brilliant. It's great fun playing around in a whole new sandbox and getting creative in a completely different medium. And as for cheap-ass games, they seemed very nice, but actually maybe they were secretly put up by Mr. B. Who knows? Actually, I'm doing a radio show with Mr. B tomorrow, and we're gonna be stranded on a desert island. So I'll put that to him. I'll have a word with him. I'll find out if he's secretly funding people trying to make me look like a baddie.
Well, do you have any specific project that goes into another medium that you want to tell us about, or is it all still in the secrets of the gods? Is it something?
Plans for the future.
I love writing. Yeah, I really enjoy the writing side of things. A Professor Elemental radio play I think would work really well, because I was raised on. We've got BBC is great, and Radio 4 particularly used to have some fantastic comedy. Still does have some good comedy on it, and I'd like to try doing a little radio play, because a bit like a comic, there's no special effects budget. You could just go, and there's a dinosaur in a hat, and then the world explodes, and then everybody turns into a donkey. You can do all that kind of stuff on the radio in a comic without it costing a fortune. So I'd like to try a little bit more writing stuff, but the nice thing is just seeing what opportunities come by. You never know. Just being really open to it, visiting lots of steampunk events, working with lots of different musicians. I've got a live funk band I'm going to start doing some work with, and I've also just started working with a group called the Gaslight Troubadours, and we've done a little EP of more kind of electronica. So just everything, just try and do as much of the stuff as I can, what I possibly can. It's lovely.
Yeah, all the music, everything.
All the music, every possible thing, and that's the beauty. Like sometimes I get gigs and I end up at like a sort of a heavy metal night or a fetish night or a rave or something like that, and they're places that I often don't really belong. But it's delightful finding yourself in these strange situations. Yeah, it's the best part about being the professor. It just allows you to jump into places where you don't really belong. That's one of the nice things about steampunk as a whole, I think.
Okay.
No. I was just going to say that I agree, because steampunk can be a lot of different things: music, art, clothing, cosplay. It can be everything you want.
Yeah, some people love it for the historical aspect. Some people just want to dress up and get drunk. And some people are somewhere in between, which I think all of those things are lovely, you know. I think it's great.
Yeah.
As long as you're having fun.
Exactly. As long as you're having fun, it just doesn't matter.
Okay, but what is the next plan? What is the next Professor Elemental thing that is going to happen? Can you tell us a little, or is still just more or less waited on?
No, this is good. It's a good timing actually for this interview, because I'm just starting the biggest project I have ever done. It's going to be huge. So working with all of these people I've talked about, I thought it'd be nice to do something where I tied all of that in together and did one project, like I told a story that was partly told through an album, through a comic, through a video game, through all of these different mediums, one big story. So I'm doing a thing called Ape Quest, The Search for Jeffrey. I'm going to be seeking out Jeffrey through time and space. So each song on the album, I'm going to be in a different time period, and I've teamed up with people like Steam Powered Giraffe and some Brighton hip hop stars and Tom Carawan, all the people I've worked with before as well. And I'm going to do a great big Kickstarter for it and try and tie all of this stuff in together. And it's very exciting. I haven't been this excited about an album, I don't think, ever. It's going to be great.
By the way, for those who don't know, who's Jeffrey? I do know, but explain.
Jeffrey is my ape butler. He is my delightful companion, my butler, my ape servant. We've always had a bit of a difficult relationship, me and Jeffrey. As you can imagine, having an orangutan for a butler isn't always ideal. But yeah, at the end of one of my last albums, he stole my time travel trousers and got lost in time. So now it's up to me and hopefully other people to help me find him. So yeah, the one thing I should say actually of all that ramble is if people go to professorelemental.com, there's a bit of blurb about it there and a competition and stuff. So check it out. You can draw me a picture of Jeffrey and I'll make it into cool stuff.
Everyone likes cool stuff, steampunk cool stuff.
Everyone likes
Jeffrey.
cool stuff. Exactly. And I like the idea of I want to get people's art and get everybody involved in it if I can do, because again, it's what steampunk's about, isn't it? We don't do these things in isolation; they're a community thing. So projects should be like that, I think.
I completely agree. Claudia, are you back?
Yes, I am back. I am sorry I was attacked by a kraken and I had to go wrestle it to the ground. But now it should be okay, I hope. Can you see me adequately?
I can see you have returned. Well done on returning safe from your travels. I'm pleased to hear it.
You look very well for someone who was attacked by a kraken.
Well, it happens every day. It was a mechanical kraken.
Wow, Portugal sounds more dangerous than I remember hearing about it. I might be changing my mind about Portugal now. You're riddled with krakens.
I have kraken hunting guns, so you'll be fine.
Okay, cool. I'll be fine.
And we can feed you kraken too, so
Wow, it's very kraken heavy, Portugal. I'll go for that. Yeah, nice.
So we seem to have run out of questions, and I'm trying to be vaguely responsible by keeping an eye on the clock. And since we don't want the professor to be late for tea, we should now be moving towards the audience's questions. So let's go right to it. Diana will do the honors, please.
all right, let me see. So, this question is from Timothy. He'd like to inquire about the rivalry with Mr. Bean. How did it start? And how are you both outside of your musical personas?
That's funny. I started because a lot of my hip-hop friends, me and Mr. B started the same kind of time. And a lot of my hip-hop friends were like, you should totally battle him. Like, he's fighting your style. I was like, all right, I will. And then I did Fighting Trousers, and he didn't respond. And then I wrote some stuff, and he didn't really respond. And then he phoned me up and said, do you want to meet for a drink? And I was like, oh, okay. And it turns out he's very nice. He's really, really lovely. And I couldn't have a fight with him anymore. He was just too nice. So now we've become quite good friends. And we've even got a couple of shows this year, which is very, very nice. So outside of his persona, I would say even more so, the professor is kind of me when I'm drunk and excited. Whereas Jim and Mr. B are very much more in tune with each other, I think. They're because Mr. B's quite relaxed and quite a sort of mellow guy, really, compared to Professor Elemental, and Jim's pretty mellow as well. So he's a lot less excitable, I'd say, than I am. But he is pretty much the kindest, nicest, and most well-dressed man in the world. I want to hate him, but I can't. He's too nice.
So it's basically defeat the enemy with kindness, literally. Like smother you.
Yeah, he totally. If he'd have come back at me with another song, I could have kept it going for years. But as it was, he sort of came back and went, oh, he was so British about it that when we met up, he apologised to me. He was just like, oh, I'm so sorry, I must have offended you. Like, oh, don't, no, you'll be, oh, I'm sorry, no, I'm sorry. Yeah, we said sorry for about an hour.
So, on a totally unrelated note, Ines wants to know what is the best type of tea, in your opinion?
Best
That's
type
a difficult question.
It is tricky. It's very tricky. Best type of tea is my tea. Assam tea. That's nice. That's my favourite. Or English breakfast tea. Yeah. To be honest, I feel bad saying this. I'm more quantity than quality. I just like a lot of tea. I don't even mind what type it comes in, whether I'm drinking it out of a bucket or having it syringed into my arms, as long as I've got some tea.
That's fair. All right, this is from Rafaela. Professor, if you could challenge any historical figure to a rap battle, who would it be and why?
Oh, that's a good question. That's a really good question. I think I would probably challenge Toad of Toad Hall from Wind in the Willows, because I based a lot of the Professor on him for one thing, and he's kind of puffy enough to be a really good rapper. I think he'd be very funny. I think it'd be a battle I'd like to see, an animated version of Professor Elemental versus Toad of Toad Hall. If I had to go for a real person in history, probably Oscar Wilde, because he trounced me completely. He smashed me to bits. But you know it would be good. I wouldn't mind being beaten by Oscar Wilde because he'd be too amazing for words. Yeah, let's do that, Oscar Wilde.
It would. Whoa, that's a great idea, actually. That would be great.
You have a time machine. Make it happen for the sake of all of us.
Yes, I will. Okay, that's my next mission. As soon as I've sorted out this whole Jeffrey mess, I'm off to find Oscar Wilde to battle him.
That would be great. Oh, that would be amazing.
My turn. Julia wants to know, Professor, what do you think that makes music steampunk?
I think it's often to do with kind of the themes of the music rather than because there's nothing to do with the type of music. Like my favourite bands in steampunk are like the Men Who Will Not Be Blamed for Nothing, who are a British punk band. You've got the Gaslight Troubadours who do electronica, Avenue Park who are like big heavy rock, and Steam Powered Giraffe who are just silly. And they don't have a lot in common in terms of their musicality, but they do all rap about certain themes. You know, we've all got songs about steamships or Victorian politeness or gin or whatever it might be. And I think it's to do with the things that you're singing about rather than the type of music that you're doing. And it's also partly to do with how you're dressed and what kind of person you are. I haven't met any in fact, every single world of steampunk is lovely, really lovely people. So that makes a big difference. They've got to be nice people.
Yeah, nice musicians. Here's an interesting question. I don't know if you'll get the reference, but Rui asks, by the way, knowing Jeffrey, do you think orangutans, besides being great butlers, can also be great librarians? This is a reference to Sir Terry Pratchett.
Terry Pratchett. Well, to my shame, although I read loads of fantasy and loads of horror, I've never really read any Terry Pratchett. Apart from the one he did with Neil Gaiman.
You have to read Terry Pratchett. It's amazing. I think you would love it. I think it's your kind of humor.
I think I probably would like it. It feels like it's a bit of a big mountain to climb to get into a whole other world now. I've got too many fantastic universes that I'm spending too much time in. I can't devote my time to another one. I'll never see my children.
Well, you heard it here firsthand. The professor hasn't read Terry Pratchett. Please send him books.
Exactly.
Oh, sorry, Claudia, you've gone again. Say that again.
She was saying that people have to send you Terry Pratchett books now to fix your lack of...
They're turning...
Whoops. Hello?
They're turning Terry Pratchett into books? Hello? Oh, God.
We are not trying to turn Terry Pratchett into books. Hello?
I was thinking that's unnecessary. Oh, there you are. You're sort of back now. Hi.
Hello.
Say it again.
I was actually saying people should send you Terry Pratchett books. Because clearly...
Yeah, all right. Yeah, that'd be great.
You solve every problem.
I'd be totally all right with that.
Who doesn't like free books?
Send me all your books. Yeah, everybody send me books and comics. Great, thank you. That's all I ever want. Honestly, there've been times recently where I've been I've had a bit less cash, and I thought, must buy some clothes. You know, they're all worn down. Oh, look, books! And I've got no money for clothes, but still come away with like that being a pile of books. There's always money for books. There's always a need for new books, I think.
I think we all understand that.
Books first.
Exactly. Yeah. We're all on the same page as steampunks.
Yep.
Zabet, I hope I'm pronouncing the name right. I am so sorry if I just murdered your name. Wants to know that do you think it will come to a point where you feel you're big enough to start printing and producing Professor Elemental things at a second location, like, say, the States, so that your overseas fans can get their Professor on without weeping at the shipping costs?
Yeah, they are expensive, aren't they? My God, sending stuff overseas is so pricey. And the same, because I buy like, I collect these like Muppet figures, and sometimes I've ordered these tiny little things, and they've cost like 50 quid in postage. So yeah, that would be nice, but I don't think I'm going to get to that size anytime soon. I'm a little one-man industry, and unless I suddenly get wildly more famous than I'd like to, and I don't really want to get famous, then I don't reckon that's very likely. The best way to get stuff off me in the States is to come to one of the conventions that I'm playing at, probably, and come and buy it off me, and then I can give it to you cheap.
True. All right, let's see more questions from the viewers.
Viewers?
Rui asks, Professor Elemental movie, please.
That would be, imagine that. I would only want to do it as an animated movie. I think I'd like, I'd like to get Aardman Animations to do it, who did Wallace and Gromit and the Pirates film.
Oh,
I don't
nice.
think really good film, the Pirates film. That's what I'd like the Professor Elemental movie to look like. Actually, we got quite close when I did the voice on Phineas and Ferb. We actually pitched a Professor Elemental show to the Disney people. Which was very exciting, just pitching it to them. But I think it was a bit too weird for Disney. We had this amazing model made. This guy called Mike Moon, who made all the models and directed The Corpse Bride, made like a professor model. He was about that big. And,
that's amazing.
He was great, but he looked kind of terrifying as well. It was a bit scary, and Disney were a bit like, okay, do you want to show that to the children, do you?
Will we have Professor action figures then?
Yeah, now that I would be so up for. Again, that's all of the stuff that I make is just out of being a nerd, isn't it? The only reason I made comics is because I like comics, and the same with action figures. Like I used to love little superhero figures. So yeah, that's on my list. I've had a little toy made this year. I've got a little bespoke toy. Actually, where's he? Lunatic, who's like a graffiti artist, toy maker. He made me that.
Nice.
But he's not quite an action figure, that's the thing. I want a little posable one. And an Elemental Mana playset. My ego knows no bounds. But let this be a lesson to anybody watching and listening, and yourselves as well. You can, if you fancy it, you can totally have all of this stuff. You just can make it. You can make it all up, basically. If you just keep telling everybody to make you stuff with your face on, they will eventually do it. That's what I found. So it's a very achievable dream. All of this kind of nonsense. Yeah. Anybody can do it, really. You just need a funny hat.
We all have funny hats now, so
Well, there we go. They're brilliant. I think we need a Diana, Souza, Claudia Silva, action figures, a special EuroSteamCon playset. Lovely.
Yes, I'll be the tiniest figure because I'm 5 foot tall.
Or maybe you'll come in like a little 2-pack. That'll be fine. And there'll be both of you in one single pack. It'll be brilliant.
Oh, that would be nice. You have to make that happen, Claudia.
Yes, I'm your friend.
Yeah.
Okay, before dear listeners try to strangle me for diverting again, I do have a mind that my train of thought tends to jump off track and chase people upstairs, so I'm so sorry I do tend to go in a complete strange direction. Mariana?
That's fine, that's fine.
Professor, what are some sources of inspiration, whether in terms of music or other types of entertainment media?
I get lots from music, inevitably, and often those collaborations I was talking about get me very excited about taking things in new directions. Lots of hip hop that I love. People like Disraeli and the Small Gods, and Homeboys, Sandman, and everything on TC Records. I actually that really gets me super excited. And comics as well. Like I spend my whole life reading just piles and piles of comics all day long. I read comics, and that means that I spend most of my life just staring at brightly coloured superheroes beating the crap out of each other, and I find that quite relaxing. That's quite inspiring as well. I like the weird and wonderful things that comics can do that no other medium can. I read a lot of Neil Gaiman stuff as well, and you know what it's like. All the best creative stuff often comes from just talking rubbish with your friends, doesn't it? It's when you sit around with close friends talking nonsense and making stuff up and playing games. That's when a lot of the inspiration things come from, I reckon.
Okay, so in that line before, wait a minute, Diana, I now want to ask something.
I'm waiting.
Steampunk book and steampunk comic and steampunk game. Come on, I want to know now.
I couldn't hear you, Claudia. Can you repeat it, please?
Yes. Could we know what is your favorite steampunk comic, your favorite steampunk book, and favorite steampunk game, video game?
Ah, okay, cool. I don't have one of either. I don't read a lot of steampunk stuff or play any steampunk games. Isn't that shocking? Like, I get very inspired by lots of different fantasy stuff. I don't tend to ever sit down and read. I've been given a few books, and I've certainly enjoyed a good few, but it's not a world that I dip into a lot. I mean, I suppose it's kind of pre-steampunk, but the League of Extraordinary Gentlemen, the first one, was a huge influence on my first album on the Difference Engine, the comic, I mean, not the film.
Yes, yes.
And because I don't play a lot of tabletop games or card games, I don't really have a favourite steampunk technique for that. Steampunks, I'm sorry. Yeah, it's children, basically. Children came along about the same sort of time as the Professor, and they curtailed me and stopped me finding out about anything new. When children come along, you can only like the stuff you already like. There's no time to find new stuff.
So, what are then your favorite book or a few of your favorite books and comics? I'll make it easy for you.
What are you saying, Claudia? You've gone again.
Your favorite books and comics in general. Doesn't have to be steampunk. Oh no, you lost us.
Sorry, you sound like a beautifully melodic robot again.
Oh, thank you, sir.
Oh, you're back. Hello. Sorry, what were you saying?
Claudia was asking for your favorite books and comics in general. Doesn't have to be steampunk.
In general? Oh, that's a good question. I really love horror. I love horror for reading. I read a lot of horror. So I've been reading a lot of there's a British writer called Ramsey Campbell, who's probably my favourite. He writes really strange, sort of dream-like horror stories. They're not everybody's taste, but he's probably my favourite writer. I just read this actually. This is a good book, Bird Box. That was quite cool. About it's a really good horror story about everyone having to wear blindfolds, and if they take their blindfolds off, they go mad. So that was very good. And comic-wise, I think we're living in like a golden age of comic books at the moment. DC started to bring out some good stuff. Marvel's still rolling along with loads of good things. Image Comics has just got piles of brilliant stories at the moment. I still love The Walking Dead. Bizarro, I totally enjoyed that recently, and a lot of the Mark Millar things. Yeah, loads of stuff. A bit like the tea thing. I'm more quantity than quality. I just read a lot. I don't read very good stuff. I just read loads of it.
All right, I think it's my turn.
It's your turn.
It's my turn. Zabet is asking if you tried pitching the Professor Elemental show to Cartoon Network because it has a much wider audience than Disney.
Yeah, that's true. Well, we did. I think it bounced around the networks a little bit, but not for very long. I think it just got other projects, because I was working on it with somebody in America, and other projects just overtook it slightly. Yeah. So maybe one day it will be revived. But I still like the idea of a Professor cartoon. I think he would work quite nicely in an animated world. He'd be quite labour intensive to make it look really good, but a little animated Professor would be hilarious. Yeah. So maybe one day. It's just whatever opportunity comes up, isn't it? Just see what comes up, who I'm lucky enough to start working with, or whether something completely different from the Professor might suddenly come about at the same time. I'm working on a kind of children's book and another TV pitch that are completely unrelated to the Professor, just in case people get bored of me shouting and trying to sell things with my face on.
My turn then. Rui wants to know, honestly though, where do you get all your energy and enthusiasm? I swear, Professor Elemental's musics are some of the most uplifting and energizing things I've ever heard.
Oh, that's nice. Thanks. Thanks, Roy. Yeah, do you know what it is? I'm powered by the fear of having to go back to get... No, not that, actually. Having to go back to work one day. I think because I got into doing this full-time relatively late, and I've done teacher, I've worked in like a call centre for 10 years, and I hated it. I absolutely hated it. So as soon as I started doing this for a living, the idea that I ever have to go back to work terrifies me. And every day I'm just so grateful and so excited that I get to do what I get to do. I think the gratitude shines through in the music. They're like, everything's brilliant, I'm not at work, this is going to be great, we can all do this, everybody have a good time. So I think that's where a lot of the excitement comes from, just the fact that I'm, just doing something new. I feel very lucky and very grateful to do something so ridiculous every day. And I also believe that it's obviously not for everybody, this kind of life, but I do believe that we're trained to feel like we can't make a living out of creative stuff. And that, you can just do it as a hobby, but don't get too serious about it. And if you really, really want to, you totally can make a living out of something silly. You just have to put all your energy into it. So yeah, there'll come a time when whatever you guys do now, you won't be doing that anymore. You'll be organising a series of conventions all over the world, and that'll be your job.
I need to make a poster with that, because I completely agree with making a living out of being creative. It's amazing. I mean, you can do it. You just have to focus on it and really mean it.
Well,
and you have to, Sorry, go on.
Say, that for money, people are capable of anything, including working.
That's nice. I might steal that for a song. Thank you. Yeah, I like that a lot.
Whose turn was now to ask a question? Because we have to be very divisive on this. We have to know who asks what question.
Yeah, don't get in trouble now.
I think it's your turn, Claudia.
Because then we fight. We want more professor.
More professor.
So, Hannah asks, hello dear, you've put some fantastic tracks out recently. I wanted to ask about Dressed Up to Fall Down. What dark cave or attic was it hidden in for so long, and what feat of time travel or adventure was needed to unearth it?
Oh, thank you for asking that. It was an album that I did. It was really important, that album, to me, because I did it just before my first kid was born. My daughter Molly, and it was kind of the end of a really carefree, sort of just mucking about, no real direction in life sort of time, which was lovely. So it was me and my best friend at the time, just hanging out, making lovely proper hip hop music. Kind of the professor was there, but he wasn't really a big thing in my life. He was just a little alias. And then Jamie Simmons, who was the producer of that album, he got kidnapped by a Canadian rapper called Baba Brinkman, who's a very gifted, brilliant rapper. And they went off to New York. And he took my album with him, and I was like, no, I was going to put that out. And then it took ages to get it off him, because he wasn't very happy with it. And finally we put it out. So that's the album that I put out recently, Dressed Up to Fall Down. And it's weird hearing what you sound like a few years ago, because I'm talking about things I wouldn't necessarily talk about now. But it serves well as a little time capsule of a simpler time, when I had less responsibilities, but also less silliness in my life.
Speaking of that, Raphael says, you've mentioned cartoons and little animated professors, so these wondrous children you keep mentioning, do they play a part in your creative process?
Yeah, they ruin it constantly by getting in my way. No, they do. They totally do. As anybody who's got kids will know, that they're very good for nonsense. And every night I have to make them up a story based on their specifications. So I say, what's the story going to be about? And like last night, it had to be about a ninja baby called David and a mad professor called Professor Concrete who had a giraffe. And I had to make up the story. And that's quite a good exercise for creativity. You have to kind of be right on the ball when you've got a 6 and a 3-year-old. So eventually, if I'm very lucky, I might try and weave them into the live show or something like that, or at least until they get to about 13, when suddenly I'm the most embarrassing dad they could possibly ever have.
Exactly.
I'm kind of looking forward to the day where... Imagine when they bring home their first boyfriend and I'm there going, hello, good to meet you, would you like a cup of tea? They will be terrified. So, yeah.
That would be amazing.
Amazing to you, not
your kids don't like it. Of course.
Yeah, we'll see. We'll see whether I manage to successfully raise them as nerds or not. Well, the jury's out so far.
Alright, so while we're going at it, Ines is saying, I'm all about quantity over quality. That's the second time you said that, Professor. Are you familiar with nano? It seems like you'd love the idea, if not doing it. And then she sticks out.
What was the actual idea? I heard all of that apart from the actual thing.
NaNoWriMo.
No, what is it?
National novel writing.
What's that?
The objective is to write 50,000 words of a novel, or more if you want, in a single month. And it's basically frantic writing from start to finish. And basically, the idea is creating a first draft for a possible novel. And it's all about writing furiously and paying no attention to writing properly.
That is a really, for anybody listening and watching who's doing creative stuff, I'm a great believer in that. The other, sometimes you have to just sit down and just write nonsense and then go back and pick out the kind of good bits out of all of it. And I think it's the same with drawing, isn't it? You do loads of sketches and then you go back and refine it. That is the key to creativity. But I couldn't do like a whole novel in a month because I've got too many things on the go. I've always got about 50 projects happening at once. I couldn't just devote myself to a novel. I'd get too bored. I need to just skip from thing to thing.
Well, Diana and I, and I believe Ines as well, as veterans of NaNoWriMo, we do know it is possible. All you have to do is manage to find time to write about 1,700 words per day. But you have to be very disciplined and write while you sleep and then get really with written.
Yeah, I bet. So have you done this? Have you done a book? Have you done a whole book?
We have, several times. We have gone slightly mad in the meanwhile too. So
I do remember once I was typing while sitting in bed at about 3 in the morning trying to catch up, and I fell asleep and I woke up to find the paragraph I didn't remember writing. Vaguely about I was
that's great.
Start writing about eating pillows and being in really tight places. I don't know. I really was very, very strange. You go insane.
So have you put these? Yeah, you will. It will drive you insane. Too much of anything is not necessarily. Sometimes too much of a good thing is great, but mostly it's too much. Have you put these books out? Can people read your mad ramblings?
No, I think people would go crazy.
They sound great.
I'm too lazy to revise them. So I believe some people that have participated have made their books and actually got movie deals out of them and like that, but I'm way too lazy for that. So mine, I still start.
No, to be honest, the fun is the creative process as well a lot of the time, isn't it? It's all about the actual act of making it rather than the end result. I think I'm a great believer in that. The making is the fun part. The end result's like, yeah, I've done it. What's next?
Yeah, I agree. I think we might be running out of time. Because the professor only has
All right.
Okay.
Can you like one more question? What else is there?
One more. All right.
Okay. We need to ask the final question. It's the question we've been basically asking everyone now. It's tradition.
Okay. Yeah. Do it.
What's better, cats or dogs?
Cats or dogs? Neither. Orangutans.
All right, we'll accept that answer.
Thank you. Animals I find them troublesome. I don't really like them very much. But I do like a single orangutan I quite like. But lonely.
He's lost now, though. You have to find him.
I know.
Well, you still have it.
Well, I will. Before the year is out. I'll find that damn monkey.
Right. Well, that's all for today. We don't want to keep the professor more than we have. I'm sure he has lots of things to do, like battling enemies and traveling in time and getting more trousers for his collection. So we would like to thank the professor for his time. Thank you, Professor.
Thank you very much indeed for having me. Thanks for everybody for watching. That was lovely. Cheers.
As well for all of those watching, if you're planning on attending EuroSteamCon Portugal, do stay tuned for a little more because I drew the short straw, so it's Diana who'll be doing the venue review. Damn you, Diana. Either way, we're looking forward to seeing you on the next step to EuroSteamCon, and we are going to reveal the guest and the date soon.
E é tudo por hoje. Queremos agradecer ao Professor Elemental pelo seu tempo e também àqueles de vocês que estiveram a ver. Para aqueles que pensam ir à convenção, vamos então revelar o local onde esta se irá realizar. Este ano, a EuroSteamCon será 3 e 4 de outubro em Vila Nova de Gaia, na Casa Barbo. Como podem ver pelas fotografias na nossa página de Facebook, é um lugar espetacular. Para mais notícias, consultem o nosso site e o link que iremos pôr no Facebook dentro de alguns momentos. Até lá, esperamos ver-vos no próximo Hangout, que também será revelado em breve. E obrigada! Goodbye!
Bye!
Bye bye! Cheers! Cheers, chaps!
Tchau.